It's a miracle that the New England Patriots have won 8 games with this offense. The unit is beyond broken. This is the very first dropback of the Cincinnati Bengals game. Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry run into each other. Henry is injured and out for the rest of the game because of this play. Henry was the only option that Mac Jones was going to have to throw to here. The Bengals play a single high safety so Jones can hold the underneath linebacker with his eyes, let the play develop, and then drop the ball into the green space for his tight end to run onto it. But his tight end was busy on the ground. Since he can't throw the ball, and he faces interior pressure in the pocket early, Jones has to escape into the left flat where he can only get back to the line of scrimmage to avoid a bigger negative play. This is the second dropback of the game. On the surface, Mac Jones is panicking again. It's a quarterback who is out of his depth, dropping his eyes and moving his feet all over the place, before he basically spikes the ball into the ground just to get rid of it and avoid another big turnover. But note what Jones does after he throws the ball away. He looks to his right side and throws his arms up in the air. Here's why. Before this play began, Jones gave a hand signal to his 3 receivers on the right side. It's a very clear and obvious signal to his receivers. The problem is, only one of his receivers is actually looking back at the quarterback. The Bengals are showing an all-out blitz with off-man coverage on the outside. Jones wants to throw a quick bubble screen so he can get the ball out quickly and his receiver has an opportunity to make a play in space after the catch. The inside receiver should run a screen route sideways. The outside receiver should block with the receiver in the middle. Only the receiver in the middle here does what he's supposed to do. His teammates release downfield but don't run routes, so Jones has nobody to throw the ball to when he looks to his right. The receiver at the bottom of the screen didn't release him to a route because he expected it to be a screen to the opposite side of the field. That leaves Jones with the tight end over in the middle, who he eventually uses to throw the ball away. But that's not the end of it from this game. Here Kendrick Bourne goes in motion to release him to a slant route from a tight alignment. His release is poor, but it doesn't matter because his route is going to the same spot as Jonnu Smith's curl route. Based on all the routes on this play, Smith was supposed to release vertically upfield to clear the space for Bourne to run into. That's where Jones is looking. Again, the pressure from the defensive line is such that he can't do anything but take a sack at this point. Fans in the stands are probably lambasting him for holding onto the ball too long or not reading the coverage properly, but his receivers are literally covering each other on this play. There was no way of making this work. Spacing and route combinations are a constant issue for the Patriots. Here you can see the tight end and wide receiver getting each other's way again on another play as they release from the line of scrimmage. On this play, both receivers run to the same spot, and that results in the receiver Jones throws to getting blown up at the catch point. It's almost as if their offense is being run by someone who doesn't know what they're doing. But even when Patricia's coaching doesn't screw everything up, the Patriots suffer from a sheer lack of talent. Kendrick Bourne would be a great third receiver on most teams. He's the Patriots' best receiver at getting open. But opposing teams don't fear him at all, so they will leverage their coverage off of him and encourage the Patriots to throw the ball his way. Before we move off the Bengals game to other opponents, let's look at 2 very similar plays from that game that highlight this problem. The Bengals are going to play cover 1 here. The Patriots have Kendrick Bourne isolated wide to the right and they use 2 crossing routes to condense the coverage in the middle of the field. Jones holds the deep safety and then loads up to hit Bourne on the right sideline. Bourne can't even get on top of the cornerback covering him. He's shut down from start to finish in his route. Jones has no window to throw the ball into here, and he actually does a great job of just giving Bourne a chance to make a play on the ball. In fact, we can see that his throw ends up hitting the receiver in the face when we switch to the end zone angle. Here we see the Bengals blitz the slot cornerback on Bourne's side of the field so that he's given single coverage. The safety to that side has to come down and take the slot, so Bourne has one-on-one and a full half of the field playing once again. This time he does get to the right side of the cornerback, but he can't separate at all, so Jones has to try and hit a window that is about the size of the football, 50 yards downfield from the far hash. That's an almost impossible throw. There's no margin for error at all, despite the defense voluntarily putting the receiver in single coverage and Jones getting good protection against the blitz. Jones' receivers basically never help him. When given a fair chance to succeed, Jones still shows off high-end traits that made him such an impressive rookie. On this play against the Minnesota Vikings, Jones has to move Eric Kendricks out of the passing lane so that he can connect with his slant route running in behind. He does this by using a quick pump fake that makes Kendricks put his weight on his left foot. That prevents the linebacker from sliding to his right, which opens the window for Jones to hit his receiver through. He makes the same play against the Arizona Cardinals, this time moving the linebacker to an underneath curl route with his posture before throwing the ball past him to the next level of the coverage. In those same games, we see him look off safeties for big plays as well. First, he manipulates Harrison Smith in a cover 2 shell before turning around to connect with Nelson Aguilar for the score. He then turns a single high safety of the Arizona Cardinals to the wrong sideline so he can connect with Hunter Henry down the seam for another huge gain. You can argue that these high-end plays don't happen often enough with Jones, and he's too inconsistent. Part of that is true, but they happen more often than you realise. You don't normally notice just watching casually because when everything in the offense works and Jones connects with a receiver, they're still as likely to drop the ball as they are to catch it. None of these plays make highlight reels because they result in incompletions rather than big plays. Routine plays for the Patriots aren't routine simply because of the quality of their receivers. This drop is purely a concentration drop as there is no defender near the pass catcher. On this play against the Raiders in the red zone, the Patriots successfully isolate Nelson Aguilar at the top of the screen and use motion before the snap to assure that Jones knows it's man coverage. This is a straightforward read and throw for the quarterback. Aguilar gets inside of the cornerback and Jones puts the ball where he's supposed to put it, but the former Eagles receiver tries to body catch it off his shoulder pad instead of snatching it with his hands to secure it. This leads to an incompletion instead of a touchdown. Jones threw a touchdown, his receiver just didn't catch it. Jones finished this game with 13 completions on 31 attempts, and there were plenty of plays just like this one. He didn't throw a touchdown, and his other biggest play of the game was also an accurate pass that became an incompletion because of wide receiver error, because of Nelson Aguilar's error. Once again, we see the defense playing a single high safety and overloading the middle of the field. The Patriots have an isolated receiver to the top of the screen. It's Aguilar rather than Bourne this time. This is a vast amount of space for Aguilar to work in against single coverage to that side, so long as Jones holds the safety in the middle of the field. Switching to the end zone angle, we can see Jones hold the deep safety during his drop back before immediately releasing the ball at the top of his drop. That's great timing. This is not an easy throw, and it's a really well thrown ball. Aguilar brings it in, but he just can't tap his second foot inbounds before reaching the sideline. Jones is often criticised for his lack of arm strength, and he's not in the same league as Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes in that regard, but he has enough arm strength to be a consistently effective passer to every level of the field. And since he's a very intelligent passer who knows how to set up routes against different coverages, he doesn't need to throw every ball at 100 miles an hour to be successful. In the offseason, the Patriots brought in Devontae Parker to be the team's number one receiver. Parker is hurt a lot, and when he's available, he doesn't make plays consistently. He runs a corner route here against the Buffalo Bills. Jones sees him in space between the outside cornerback and the safety over the top. He knows there's an opportunity here, even though it won't be an uncontested catch. But Parker is in the offense to make contested catches. It's not an easy play for the wide receiver. He's at full extension between two defenders. It's a play the Patriots needed to see him make more often than he did. If the Patriots had a true number one receiver, this type of play would be converted more often. Even an Amari Cooper type of receiver, not even a Stephon Diggs or a Justin Jefferson was needed. A couple of plays after this missed opportunity, Jones had a drop touchdown over the middle. This is a sublime throw from the quarterback between three defenders in a closing window. He perfectly times the pass and places it in a spot where the receiver can get to it first. Jacoby Myers takes a hard hit so the ball pops out after he hits the ground. It's not the easiest play in the world, but it's still another drop touchdown for the quarterback. It's another opportunity to call Mac Jones inconsistent because of the result of the play rather than looking at the actual process and how it played out. If the Patriots are going to stick with Jones and build an effective offense around him with new talent next season, then they also need to embrace a philosophical change on offense. Jones is clearly a better quarterback in spread formations. Since he is so adept at reading coverages, manipulating defenders, and making timing throws into tight windows, the extra space and extra receiving options suit his skill set more than the run-oriented, screen-heavy approach that the offense currently undertakes. Take this play from mid-season against the New York Jets. A failed running play and a screen have set up a 3rd and 10. The Patriots are going to attack the first down line with 3 vertical receivers while a running back and tight end initially stay in the block before leaking out into routes. The Jets play coverage to encourage Jones into a checkdown. He wants his crossing route and looks in that direction when he hits the top of his drop. The crossing route is running into a second defender over the middle, so it's technically not open and not going to be open. But from the end zone angle, we can see how Jones shapes the throw to the inside of that second defender. He only plants his front foot to the left as he's completing his throwing motion, so at the very last second. This pulls the defender inside and opens the window for Jones to throw past him to his crossing route outside. Jones makes an accurate pass and his receiver catches the ball in stride to continue across the field. He gets the first down as well as 6 extra yards because of Jones' ability to work the coverage. On play-action play designs, there are fewer options to throw to downfield because fewer receivers release into routes downfield, and the quarterback turns his back to the coverage at the start of the play. This means that there are fewer opportunities to manipulate defenders in space and less time to do so as well. On play fakes, as well as on screens, you're relying on the play design to distort the defense. In spread designs, you're relying on the quarterback to. Mac Jones can do this very effectively. With even an average group of receivers, or maybe just a competent offensive coordinator, Jones wouldn't be perceived as inconsistent. He'd be considered one of the best young quarterbacks in the league still.